This is an engine that came to me having low oil pressure. There were various problems with it, one of which being that the crank plugs hadn't even been tightened up correctly in it, because it does feature an TWR Le Mans XJLR crankshaft which has got crank plugs in it, none of which were tight. On further inspection I discovered that the oil pump was completely useless. There were massive scores on the face of the oil pump which was causing a massive pressure loss between the inlet and outlet ports of the pump. Also, when I started to strip the engine down, I'd already noticed when it was on the test bed that there was a horrible noise coming from the A-bank valve gear. And as I removed the cylinder head, I discovered that numbers 2 and 5 pistons had been put into the wrong bores, which resulted in the inlet valves colliding with the exhaust shape in the top of the piston crowns. Obviously this has been rectified. Fortunately there was no damage to the pistons, as the touching was very, very slight, in view of the fact that I haven't revved the engine very highly at all, due to the fact that the oil pressure was very minimal. It was only £18 on tick over and dropped to £9 when I lifted the engine even very slightly off tick over. There were various other problems with this engine, basically down to bad workmanship, particularly with regards to the attaining of the tappet clearances, which was due to the fact that the valve seats were completely worn out, and somebody had ground something off the stem of the valves, and also they ground material off the tappet adjusting pads as well in order to get the valve clearances. So ultimately the heads have been rebuilt with new valves and also with new guides and new valve seats. I also had to replace the big end bearing shells, as the big end bearing shell on 1B bank had got a slight line on it that went through to the copper, but by virtue of the fact that these crankshafts are very hard, they're nitride hardened, I was lucky enough to be able to polish the mark out of the crankshaft, so it should be serviceable from that point of view. So here it is on the test bed. I've just run it up to normal working temperature. I'll start it up so you can have a listen to it. This time. Okay, so as you can hear, the tappets are now nice and quiet. There's also good oil pressure on it, even though the temperature is currently at 150 degrees Fahrenheit. The carburetors have not been set up properly by virtue of the fact that the whole engine was just not nicely balanced before. But that's not something I'm going to get involved in. That'll wait until it's on a rolling road after it's been installed in the car. As you can hear, it's popping back a little bit in the exhaust because I think it's really a bit rich. The oil pressure, as you can see, is good on a very slow tick over now.